Hey party people, welcome back to the Everything Transformers and Everything G.I. Joe podcast. Now, it's been a while and we're trying to work a few things out. And one of those things is we're trying to work out the scheduling here. We're doing a weekly video podcast and it just really wasn't working. So what I've tried to do is trying to clean things up a bit. And we're going to have a bit more concise format to the show as well. We're going to move this to a once a month show. So this is going to be October's show. And what we're going to do, we're going to have sort of like a housekeeping in the beginning, and we're going to talk about some things and possibly like what I've picked up or managed to add to my collection, how things are going, and then we're going to move into say more of like a story or something that's happened that I want to talk more in depth, more freely than I can in say more one of our edited videos that you find on the channel. So that being said, let's get to it. So right now, if you're watching the video, you're probably watching footage from the Transformers Devastation game for PC. It's a really cool game. If you haven't checked it out, if you've slept on it, it's definitely worth checking out. It's not the best game ever, but totally action-packed, and the colors, the animation are superb. So actually, if you're interested in hearing my views on this video game, please comment below and just, use the word Devastation or comment about the game that you want to see more about it. And we can do a video about it in the future. It's a really cool game and it's worth checking out as a Transformers fan. So getting back into, say, that housekeeping function, and let's just talk about some things that I've managed to pick up since the last time we talked. And that was a while ago. So there's a few things here. So if you follow me on social media, on Instagram or Twitter, or even I think I probably posted on the YouTube community channel, I often post a picture of this Cobra Night landing craft where it is constantly filling up with new G.I. Joes I've added to the collection. So like I've got a Toxo Viper, a Tiger Force Recondo, a Metalhead that I picked up for $5 at a local convention. There's just some Joes. I have a huge G.I. Joe collection, but there are certain Joes I just don't have that I don't own. So there's always some of them and the collection. The collection never stops. Of course, I actually did a short on this. I went to a local convention, and it's a small little convention, but it had a really good selection. I was actually amazed at how good the little selection was for a very, like a smaller local convention. And I ended up picking up a Transformers animated Starscream. It was a pretty good price. It was only $15. It was heavily discolored, and when I actually got it home, fully took it out. It was in a bag. It was in a plastic bag and transformed it. It actually didn't have a head either. And that was kind of weird because I was like, wow, I guess that's why it was sold in its jet form. But in the end, it didn't matter for me because I bought it for one reason. One reason only is that I have a perfectly good Starscream, animated Starscream, but his hand fell apart and he doesn't have any fingers. So I purposely bought that Starscream at the discolored price point. And because I just wanted his hand, I took his hand apart. I popped his hand in my perfectly good Starscream. And now I have a complete animated Starscream. It's all about the long game, people. I've had that Starscream for years without a hand. Every convention I would go, try to check out if I could get a hand at a good price. And it finally happened to me, so I'm happy. So that other Starscream, no head, no hand. He's gone in the trade bin. Maybe somebody else needs a leg or something like that. Anyways, moving on. One thing that is nonstop for sure, just like the rest of you guys, is G.I. Joe Classified. I mean, I'm sorry, like every week there's new Classified coming in the mail. They need to work on the distribution, space this stuff out a bit. But you know what? Like the Cobra Eels from Amazon. Now this is going back a little ways. He's here. I was really excited for him, and I should have did a review, but I didn't get around to it. But he's one of my top-notch faves. Then we have, just recently, Grunt came. Haven't had a chance to open him either, but he looks pretty cool. Then we have, from Walmart, we have the Range Viper, which I did put up on the community channel, which of the new figures you would like to see a review of. And the Range Viper actually won that vote, so I'll probably try to get to that as soon as possible. And then, of course, with the Range Viper, Night Force Big Ben came as well, which I was never really a fan of Big Ben. I kind of was going to sleep on him. And like even when his original figure was announced, I think if you go back, there's a one of those list videos that I did, and Big Ben was at the bottom. He was like, this guy's a shelf warmer. But the Night Force one had my interest peaked, and because we're getting a couple other Night Force figures, I was like, okay, well, I'll keep some Night Force figures. Like I think I have Night Force Tunnel Rat pre-ordered. So he's going to join that team. I do have Night Force Shooter pre-ordered, but she's not really doing it for me. So there's a guy locally that I think he's going to buy her off me when she shows up. And then the same thing for the Mole Rat. I do have him pre-ordered as well, but not really sold on original characters. I'm more into classified for that nostalgia feeling. So sometimes when they do these new original characters like Wolf Spider and the Mole Rat, they don't really do it for me, sadly. It's hard. We'll see when they come in the mail. And then actually, literally today, my version of the new version 2 Firefly showed up in the mail. So like classified is just going berserk right now. I do actually, and then of course Walmart. I just talked about the Mole Rat and the Shooter and the Crimson Alley Viper. Like they're coming. Like I got a notice that it was delayed, but it will probably be here in the next week. And I think I'm only going to keep the Crimson Alley Viper. He is pretty cool. That guy is pretty awesome. I like the coloring. Of course, I do like the original Alley Viper, but the red and the black plays off really well together. And I really like his shield, how the Cobra logo actually has color to it, where on the original orange Alley Viper, it's just like orange and molded into the shield. I do like how the new one has it like specifically colored and stands out more. Guys, there's a lot of stuff happening here. For vintage gijoe stuff, I'm actually addicted for some reason to making Cobra flight pods. I've got at least 3 of them, in my collection. I've been working on this 4th one. Anyways, I've got to put a couple more of them together. I love Cobra flight pods. So it's a thing you'll see. I'm sure you will see pictures on Instagram or Twitter from me showing off my flight pod collection. I just got a stand for it from Lane's figure display stands, and I actually did a video on that, and they actually sent me a couple more stands. They like my video, so they actually sent me a couple more stands to check out. So I will do a video on the Serpentor stand, and I have a Globulus stand as well, but guess what? I don't have a Globulus, so I have to get a loan of one to probably do a video on that eventually down the road. Anyways, so what else do we have here? And then of course, like building flight pods. I'm building flight pods, but I also have to finish building a couple polar battle bears, and as well, I have a couple Skyhawks I have to finish as well. So sometimes what happens is obviously I like to have one for my collection, but through getting parts and trades and buying stuff or whatever, I'll end up with enough to build another one. And sometimes they aren't perfectly, salvageable. So unfortunately, as a person who, these are only meant for my own collection, I'm not looking to sell them or anything. I do sometimes glue things back together, and because I'd rather have a display-worthy Polar Battle Bear or a Skyhawk to sit on the shelf than a bunch of crappy parts in a bin somewhere or whatever. So I've got a couple of those projects to complete, and I'm sure you'll see pictures of those on Instagram and Twitter. Now, obviously, I'm pushing Instagram and Twitter. Please give us a follow there. The links are in the description, and you'll see a bit more conversation there happening. But like any good YouTuber, I've started to use the community channel a bit more. I do try to post things at least several times a week there to get some engagement, get you guys chatting, and so I hope everyone's liking that. We do try to do weekly polls on hot topics and what's being released, and try to get a pulse of what you guys like as well. So keep an eye out for those polls, and if you can, give them a like and make sure you fill them out. Okay, guys, sorry, I know this is a catch-up video. The next video won't be as bad, but I'm just trying to go through. Another thing that I'm addicted to is claim sales on Facebook groups. You can get some really good deals there, and you can get very specific things on what people are selling. I just picked up the Transformers animated, the 2-pack of the brothers, that are the jets that combine together, and I can't remember their names, if they're Jetfire and Jetstorm right now, but I got that for $8 Canadian. $8! Now the shipping sucked on it to get it to my house, but $8, I couldn't pass that up. I didn't really like those guys. I never really looked at their aesthetic before, but for some reason, I was looking at my animated collection, and I have a majority of it. I'm not a completist or whatever. I have what I want from it, and which is a majority of it, because it was pretty cool back in the day. And I realized, I don't have those guys, and that was a great price. So I picked them up, and they showed up. And I'll probably do a short or maybe a couple pictures on Instagram or Twitter about that in the coming days. Of course, one thing, if you do follow me, I do love doing shorts, and I especially love doing shorts of finding stuff at the thrift store. which I have had some luck recently after what seemed to be like weeks of finding nothing. I mean, nothing. I go to the thrift store about 2-3 times a week, and it's all about luck of the draw. And forever, it was a huge dry spell. But recently, you'll see shorts on the YouTube channel. I found a bunch of MicroMasters. I found some Beast Wars Transmetals. Now, I don't collect Beast Wars, but they were a really good deal, and they went straight into the trade pile. Then the other day, literally yesterday, I think, I found like a handful of Joes. There was nothing great in it, but you know the model, no Joe left behind. So I had to pick them up. And I think that's pretty much it for the thrift store finds recently. And like I said, it's been pretty dry, but hopefully it picks up a bit. I always find it weird here in Canada. We have like this Value Village, which I've mentioned in videos before, which is like a chain thrift store that people just drop stuff off and then they turn around and sell it. I don't understand. Like, I don't know what's happening. The competition in my city is pretty high, but like there are never any vehicles there. And for G.I. Joe, sorry. And very rarely do you find G.I. Joes. And I haven't had much luck. Transformers are pretty easy to find, but G.I. Joes, not so easy. So I'm always find it weird that I would think you should be able to walk in any thrift store and find like a shell of a snowcat. That is like common as dirt. You'd think that, but I've never ever seen one in the like year and a half that I've been going thrifting at these stores. It's really weird. Freaks me out. I don't know why G.I. Joe isn't more prevalent at these thrift stores. Is it that I just get there late and everyone else picks the stuff up? I'm not really sure, but we'll see how it goes. And stay tuned. Follow us on YouTube because you want to see those shorts where I go to the store and find stuff at the thrift store. Rocks. Then, of course, what else we got? I think that is pretty much it. The other thing I'm really liking is if you do follow us on social, you'll notice that I love the Transformer movie retro collection. And I pretty much have all of them. The only one right now I'm missing is Hot Rod from Wave 1. Kind of slapped on him, and it was a mistake. I wasn't really sure. They're expensive, right? So I really wasn't sure. I wanted to pick them up for clearance, and I just totally missed it. But, you know, I do have Perceptor and Kickback in the new Wave 3. It's awesome. And, of course, here in Canada, on Walmart's website, they had Skywarp and Shrapnel, available, and I haven't seen them at retail yet, which is kind of weird because we're doing really well here locally, like for a long time, like it's just constantly new wave of this stuff. So maybe they'll come out more around Christmas. I don't know, the holidays, we'll see what happens. But that is a huge update. We're like 15 minutes into this video already. That's an update, and like next video won't be as much update, or maybe there will be, depends on how much I buy or collect. Oh, the other thing, don't tell anyone, but I actually picked up some mask stuff too. So I've got the Condor, I can't remember the names, it's been so long. The green bike that turns into a helicopter, I've got that guy coming as well. I'm supposed to make a deal with a guy locally to get another one, the black Jeep, and I can't remember its name right now because I am a rookie mask collector. I had everything as a kid, but it's long gone. But you know what? It's so hard to find locally that I'm just picking up little things. So like I'm not spending a ton of money on it because I think it's like a endless pit. I already do the Transformers and G.I. Joe. I can't do another one, but it's just a couple things just to wet my whistle to see how it goes. Anyway, let's get to the meat of the podcast right now. So one thing that I am a big fan of, and you know what? Love it or hate it, Facebook is a great tool as an action figure collector. Okay, I say that because you have the marketplace, which basically opens things up for everyone to find things a lot easier these days. And then you have Facebook groups, which, you know, you have a million different groups for specific topics. Like G.I. Joe, there's like probably a million different ones. For Transformers, there's a million different ones. You got your Canadian ones, you got your American ones, you got your European ones. You can find a group for everything, and these are amazing resources to find those parts that you're looking for. Okay? People have pretty good sales on here, I find. You can find hot deals, like the claim sales, where people will go through and they list like 50 or 100 items. They're like, hey, $2, $3 for this part. Like yesterday, some guy, one of my G.I. Joe Facebook groups, he was selling the back panel to the G.I. Joe Mobat, and I was like, I think I need that. And I was literally at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was ruffling through boxes to find a Mobat that was like, I think it doesn't have a back And I'll never find that back because nobody's ever going to sell that. And guess what? Some guy selling on a claim sale, $4 Canadian. It's going to take $5 to ship it, so $9. Boom. This, like 10 minutes ago, that was a useless Mobat that wasn't complete, is now basically complete. And that's awesome. And that's the power of Facebook groups. I know people don't like Facebook, and that's a whole different story. But if you can get past that, you don't have to put any personal information on there. You can just literally, I don't look at like what my friends are doing. I literally only go to Facebook groups and like, hey, what's the people selling? What are they talking about? Oh, look, this is an interesting comment. Hey, let's chat about toys. That's the best way to use Facebook. And that's what I highly recommend. However, with Facebook comes great dangers. And what we're going to talk a lot about right now is scammers. And you have to be aware that while you're there trying to buy things from legitimate people, there are 1,000,001 people out there trying to scam you out of your money. And this comes from, like, this is ramped up a lot. And I think it comes from the state of the world currently with, like, inflation, the price of stuff. And I just think that, like, people have ramped up the idea that, like, you know what? I can't afford to live. I can't afford to do these things. I just need money for free. I'm just going to try to scam people. And I think that's where it comes from. And like as a base, I'm sure there's 1,000,000 other reasons just because there's bad people out there. But one thing you have to be aware is that there's scammers out there. They're the bad people and they want to take your money. Now, I have done hundreds, possibly thousands of online deals since I've been collecting action figures, like seriously, Transformers, gijoe, other stuff. And I do feel that I have a really good solid base, a solid base on who is a scammer and to know when I am being played. I have to be honest, up until recently, I don't really feel like I've ever been scammed. And like, I'm knocking on wood. I don't know if that counted on the mic, but I knocked on wood. And it only happened, I think, last month where some guy tried to scam me. And it was quite interesting because it was just before the Facebook scammers really ramped up. It was like there was a good person in one of my groups who was saying, hey, there's a lot of scammers out here. I've noticed that. And he was highlighting scammers to like the group and saying like, hey, we gotta kick this person out. And like he was being kind of like a watchdog. When he told me about that, it kind of like, you know, piqued my alert, you know, raised my antenna up. I'm like, oh, I gotta watch out for this. And the very next day, someone tried to scam me. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So I do plan to do like a warning signs video on the channel about this to allow, you know, to alert other people what to look out for. But here on the podcast, you're going to get just like the complete unedited story on what happened to me. And it all started when I met this person at Facebook, a great guy, for a local sale, and he handed me like a baggie of stuff, and I think it was a bunch of G.I. Joe parts and a couple figures and some random stuff. He was a Lego collector, and he would, like, you know, you get these bags of Lego and you get all this random stuff in it. He would only keep the Lego and he'd sell the rest of the stuff. And one of the things he included in the bag of stuff that I bought off him was a Generation 1 hard head headmaster. The head, I don't know the head's name right off the top of my head, but it was the head, right? And, you know, that thing by itself is worth like probably $50 or $60 because the heads are the hard thing to find. The bodies are the easy thing to find. It's the head you can't normally find. So I was ahead of the game, pardon the pun, that I had the head. And now I had to go find a body because I'm the Generation 1 Transformer collector. So, you know, wow, okay, I've got this headmaster. Let's get him at least display complete. I don't really need it 100% complete because 100% complete Transformers are really expensive. Anyway, so I just needed a body. So where'd I go? I went on Facebook. I'm in, I think, 3 or 4 Transformer groups on Facebook. And I simply went to Google Images and I grabbed a couple like artwork shots of Generation 1 Hardhead. And I posted some pictures on the groups, and I was basically like, hey guys, I got a head and I'm just looking for the body. Does anyone have a body for sale? And, you know, fairly straightforward. And of course, you know, people were like, oh, you know, I got one. And a couple of people were like, yeah, I got a complete Generation 1 hardhead that you can have for sale. I mean, obviously some people just don't know how to read because I didn't want a complete Generation 1 hardhead. I wanted a body because I already had the head. And this is where the scam begins, okay? So that's a long backstory, but the scam begins here in the fact that I had the head, I needed a body, and scammers First thing, they're looking out for what you need. They're trying to provide you with, oh, look at this awesome deal I have. You should buy from me. A guy by the name of, it doesn't matter because he's a scammer. It's 100% a fake name. His name was Donnie Habir, okay? He replied to one of my posts with a simple, are you still looking? Question mark. So he didn't message me. He left out on one of the things. And I had talked to several other people. You know, there's a guy like, oh, I can sell you a complete one for like $100. And another guy was like, I have a body. It's in pretty good condition for $40. And I was checking out my options. And he posted, are you looking for one? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll message him. I was like, sure. I am still looking for one. And this is where it began. He sends me a picture and it's of a complete Generation 1 hardhead. You know, complete. Got the 2 guns, got the arm cannon, got the head. Boom. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, I'm only looking for the body. You know what? Curiosity got the better of me. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm only looking for the body, but like, what if he's selling it for a really good price? And, you know, like, maybe it would just be better to go about that way and get a complete one and then, like, just sell my extra head separately. So I ask him, I'm like, what are you selling it for? Now, sorry, okay, one thing we gotta step back here. Prices are gonna be in Canadian for now, okay? I can do a quick math for you, but like they're in Canadian. So he tells me the complete Generation 1 hardhead, he's selling for $55 Canadian. So if do a quick dirty exchange rate here on the internet, so $55 Canadian, roughly today's really horrible exchange rate, is $40 American. So as a Generation 1 collector, I just said previously, I don't really even buy complete Generation 1 Transformers anymore because they're so expensive. I know if I go to eBay sold right this second, as you know, the general guideline, you know, plus or minus a little bit, that a complete Generation hardhead sells for about $100 to $120 Canadian, which is probably like $75 to $90 US if in the quick exchange. And the dude's selling it for $55. And I'm like, whoa, that's like a really good deal there. What made it worse, I did continue to talk to him at the time because once again, this is at the time I didn't realize he was necessarily a scammer. He's like, oh, and that includes shipping as well. And now, whoa, red flag here. So first of all, I'm in Ontario, which is a province of Canada. He said he was in the province as well, and he's like, 5 hours from here. Shipping within Canada sucks for some reason, and anytime you ship anything of like size, it's a minimum of $20. So the fact that he said shipping was included on this $55 price is a huge red flag, because we have to minus $20 for the cost of shipping right away. Maybe 15, maybe 16, but we're going to just round it up to 20. So he's saying he's going to sell me a complete Generation 1 hardhead for a profit of $35. Like, that's ridiculous. So I told him, you know what? No, thank you very much. But, I was just basically looking for the body. Don't worry about it, okay? Because once again, it's kind of weird. So I think he messaged me back a couple times or whatever. And eventually we got to chatting. And I was like, hey, do you have any other Transformers for sale? Because I'm not interested in the hardhead. But like, what else you got for sale? Because you got some crazy prices, right? And he's like, oh, I got lots. What are you looking for? You know what? Like, I thought about it. There's not like, I have like a large Transformer collection, but it's not like complete or anything. But sometimes you're like, what are you looking for at the moment? Your different moods strike you. And I was like, oh, I don't actually have a Generation 1. Nah, the Sharkticon from the movie. I was like, hey, do you have a Nah? And he's like, yeah, totally. He, came back and he had like a picture of a modern Nah, like from the new one of the new ones from like Titans Returns or Combiner Wars or whatever, one of those ones. And I found that weird because like we were talking Generation 1 earlier. If I didn't specify, why wouldn't I continue talking about Generation 1? So I found it weird at the time, and I was like, no, dude, that's a modern one. You have like a Generation 1 version of it? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, give me a second. And he came back, and I don't think he had one after or whatever. And I was like, well, okay, that's really weird. Okay, whatever. So what it turns out was what he was doing, like, we'll just skip ahead. What he was doing, he was just going to eBay, finding listings for stuff that I was interested in, and downloading the pictures and sending them to me. And this is a red flag. Anytime you see someone who you don't know, like, personally, or they have no reputation in your group or whatever, you'll see a lot of people, they join like the day before. Like, hey, this person has joined 12 hours ago. Now they're selling all these rare gijoes and Transformers for a super cheap price. Man, they must be reliable and totally trustworthy. You'll see that if you actually take their picture and spend like 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes. Not like an hour-long deep dive. 5 minutes, you go to eBay, you search eBay sold for what you're specifically looking for, and you'll find that picture, because that's the number one source that scammers use to scam people. They take other people's pictures because obviously they don't have the merchandise. They're scamming you, right? And they try to give it the illusion that they have this product to sell you. And that is a great resource. So if you ever question somebody's not selling you really what they have, just spend 5 minutes and go to eBay, look up the current listings and the sold listings. There's a chance that you might stumble across it. In my case, I found both the pictures of the Generation 1 hardhead and the modern Na on eBay from the pictures that he sent me. So this guy was a scammer. But like, that was like later on in the process. I continued on with this guy. I had my suspicions. I was talking to another friend about him. So at some point I was kind of like leading him on. I was never going to buy from him because like it was too shady. And I ended up finding somebody locally had a hardhead body. They sold it to me for $10. It's not in mint condition, but $10 to slap my head on to put it in my display case. Great. I'll work on getting the cannons or the side cannon, the arm, the shoulder cannon at a later date. It's all about patience. Anyways, back to the scammer, Donnie Hubert. He continues, we're chatting or whatever. The number one thing he was doing though, every time we would talk, he would pressure me. He's like, hey, do you want to pay now? Hey, want to pay now? My PayPal's ready, right? Like, constantly talking about him, like, yeah, not really sure what to do. Anyways, as we moved through, like, there was other weird things as well. So, a couple of things. First of all, when dealing with people that you don't know, you should deal with PayPal goods and services. I understand it costs you a little bit more, but at least you're protective. And you're gonna run into people out there that they don't have PayPal, and for like either A, because they are a scammer, or B, because they just don't want to deal with PayPal and they don't want to deal with it. So there are legitimate people out there don't want to deal with PayPal, and that shouldn't be a reason to think that they're a scammer. But like it's adding up all the other things with the lack of PayPal that leads you to believe people are scammers. Okay, so like in this guy's case, he was always pressuring me to pay. I'm like, whoa, back up the truck for a second. You got to provide references because I don't know who you are, right? Because once again, this was in the discovery he was a scammer. So I asked him for references. He comes back, he gives me two names like Jim Bob and John Smith. And I'm like, are these people in the group that we're dealing in? He's like, oh, I think they might have been. They might have left by now. I'm like, that's not good enough. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, we need references. And literally, I'm like, I still need some references. He sent me a message back. He's like, so you want to pay now? I'm like, no. References come first before payment. For me, at the time, like I already had my suspicions he was a scammer, but this sealed the deal. He sends me a picture on Facebook Messenger and chat, and it's a picture of a shipping box. And he's like, hey, look, I completed this deal. This is proof. When you look closer, neither the return address or where the person who was accepting this box was the person's name. Neither of them said Donnie Hubert. So I don't know why in the world he thought that this was a good idea to send me this reference picture when the name Donnie Hubert doesn't even show up as either the names of the person sending or the person receiving. It was kind of weird because it's like he forgot which alias he was working at that time or something like that. Not really sure. Anyways, at this point, it was quite evident that he was trying to scam me. And to make it worse, he sends me a message. So, I'm in the Eastern time zone. So like right now it's midnight. I'm recording this or whatever. But like a good chunk of people are probably gone to bed by now. Okay, right? You know what? Even as like a person who might stay and play video games, you might stay up to like 1:30, 2 o'clock. You're playing some video games. You got to go to bed. It's the weekend. You're not going to get up early in the morning. You're okay. He sends me a message at 3:50 a.m. in the morning saying, hey, are you there? Now, I don't know about you, but like even as a gamer, I'm not up very often at 3:50 in the morning. That seems like a really weird time for another person to be up, then as well expecting me to be up to answer them on chat. So this was quite obvious that he was not 5 hours from me in the same time zone. He was somewhere else and he messed up. He must be a rookie scammer. I don't know. But the picture thing, eBay picture thing, the references, the pressure to buy. This was prime stuff where this guy was a scammer. A buddy of mine and I, messaged the admins. We got him to kick him out of the group. I blocked him. He's done. Now, the funny thing is, interesting thing, I took his name, searched it on Facebook, and dude comes up and he was in all kinds of groups. He was in like Pokemon groups, and he was in like other Marvel Legends action figure groups. And I'm pretty sure he was just running scams everywhere. It was ridiculous. Trying to get people, and when you look at this is a lot of work. He was looking to get $55 Canadian out of me. That's not a large scam. I'm sorry. Like I said, that's $40 American. He's going to scam me for $40 American. That's sad. Like, look at the work he's putting in to do this. So this happened before. As a person who's on Facebook a lot in these groups, like I previously mentioned, the ramp up of these scammers, like every day in these groups I'm finding is like, oh guys, we kicked another guy out because he's a scammer. And coming through, I've noticed a few other trends, and I'll give you these hot tips right here. None of these tips are 100%, but you've got to add up the evidence to say like, no, I'm not dealing with this person. A couple of things I've noticed right away. So with Facebook allows you to click the person's name and it'll show their information about the group, and it'll say like, hey, this person joined 3 years ago, or this person joined this group a day ago, or 12 hours. That is a red flag. People don't normally join a group and automatically try to sell their stuff. A lot of groups actually have rules where you're not allowed to sell stuff for the first 2 weeks or the first 30 days or something like that. And I think more Facebook groups should have those rules to stop these scammers. I mean, I'm sure they would just wait longer, but still, hopefully it would just kill the scam. Anyways, so you click on these people's names and you can just blatantly see like they just joined. So that's kind of a red flag. Obviously, there are definitely people out there that do join to try to sell, but it's a red flag. But the number one thing I've noticed, you click on there, it says view their Facebook profile, which is like their actual person, not like the group details. And a couple of things here. You'll see that, first of all, for some reason, all these people always have pictures of a family. And I mean, I guess that's not a red flag, but it seems weird. Like never anything outside the norm. It's like their banners of family, like 2 or 3 kids, and their Facebook icon is like of them and their wife or whatever. And you'll notice that was updated like 1, 2, 3 days ago. And then you'll scroll down, and the last time they updated their profile was 2011, like 10 years ago. So you're telling me this person hasn't logged into Facebook and updated their profile in like 10, 13 years, 10 or 12 years. They updated their profile so they could go on this gijoe or Transformer forum and sell their toys. No, that's not a thing. Because you know what this is? More than likely, this is probably a dormant account that, that person had 12 years ago when Facebook was like hot and new or whatever. They've given it up and they probably got hacked and they've totally forgotten about this. And there's just these dormant hacked accounts out there and people are just using them. Another thing you'll notice is either A, they'll have like no friends. Like no friends. I'm sorry. Facebook's all about the friends, especially if you're from 2012, 2011. Like when Facebook was like just taking off or like getting big, really big, you'd add every single person. You'd like met somebody at the grocery store. I'm adding you out. You're my friend. So they'll either have no friends, or if you're really kind of deep dive into them, they'll have like friends from, unfortunately, I have to say this, from like foreign countries, like 100 people from foreign countries. Now their name is John Smith, but all their friends' names are from foreign countries. So that's kind of like a red flag. And I'm, pick that with a grain of salt. But all these things I've mentioned in this chat are evidence that you can clearly see somebody's trying to scam you. So when it comes down to it, if you see too good of a deal on a Facebook group, there's a chance it is. If you investigate more, you'll find out those details that, hey, this person just joined. This person has no friends on Facebook. This person is just shady, pressuring me to buy something. Don't be afraid to message the admin or even make a post. Hey guys, does anyone have any references for Donnie Hubier? Does anyone know who this guy is? Is he good? And other people will check him out. Other people will be like, oh yeah, I've never dealt with him. He's brand new. Or maybe somebody will come out of the woodwork and be like, hey, yeah, I've met Donnie and Donnie's a great guy. And he sold me this and did. And another guy will say, yeah, he's great. And that'll alleviate that stress. More than likely, what will happen is nobody will know who he is. They'll investigate and they're like, this guy's a scammer, and he'll get booted out and you're protected. So you always have to protect yourself. Now, this chat is specifically about Facebook and what the dealings happen on there. I mean, you can take some of these things and translate them to other things. Me personally, I've never really done a deal on Instagram or Twitter. All my deals have been more the Facebook or on forums. All my other deals have been on forums, and so they work out pretty good. Not the same level of detail that Facebook provides, so let's put that to the side. This is specifically about Facebook, but have these ideas in your head. So I'm gonna do a video, I think a more concise video on this for the channel, where basically I'm going to break these down into smaller chunks and put up, like, 5 warning signs that all toy collectors need to be aware of. Don't get scammed or whatever. That's going to come. Hopefully people will watch it, and I'll get people to share it out so the community is aware of it. But you know what? I think this is one of the longest videos I've ever recorded for the channel. And guys, if you do want to see more of these, a monthly thing, please do leave the like, make sure you subscribe, and so I know that people are going to listen to watches of me rambling. I hope you actually did watch the footage of the Transformer Devastation game, because it's a pretty good game. I had it for Xbox back in the day, and I enjoyed it, but I was on the mindset back then that, like, once I finished a game, I kind of sold it, like, so I'd finish it really quickly and then sell it for, like, basically a majority of the cost of the game, so it only cost me a little bit to play the game, so it's almost like I just rented the game. This was one of those games where, as my love of Transformers grew, I kind of looked back at it and I was like, why did I sell that game? That was a pretty cool game. It's not like amazing, but the graphics in it are so cool. It's like you're playing the cartoon. And I was really sad that I sold it, and it was really hard to find for Xbox One. I couldn't find it. I basically couldn't find it. Long story short, I ended up finding it for PC, and I'm playing it on my PC, and this is where I recorded the footage. Plays great. I don't have a crazy gaming rig. I think I've got a 3060, so it plays nice. Definitely, if you've slept on it, check it out. You can play as Grimlock, Optimus Prime, Wheeljack, Sideswipe, and Bumblebee, and then you can actually get DLC, which changes like Sideswipe into Red Alert, and then you can change Bumblebee into, I think, Goldbug, and you can change Prime into Nemesis Prime, and it's a pretty cool game. Anyways, it's worth checking out if you can get your hands on a copy of it. Anyways, guys, so like I said, let me know in the comments if you like this, you want to hear more, more about the hauls that I'm getting, and then more like the stories, the behind the scenes stuff as well. Because I got a few stories I can go into. I already got next month's what I can talk about, as long as nothing crazy comes up. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.